Welcome to the Coach's Corner. Coach Clarence is an entrepreneur, financial expert, and passionate about helping people build and market their business. He has a creative flair for thinking outside the box and is always looking for the positive side of life. Now, here's Coach Clarence.
All right, everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to Fit Over 40 at Coach's Corner. I'm about to have a wonderful conversation with Beat Gillette. She is a growth architect and founder of the Women's Code. I want to ask about the Women's Code for sure. She provides visionaries and leaders with proven strategies, blueprints, and growth maps that help provide clear steps to improve business systems, strengthen leadership, and so that her clients and audience can maximize profits and scale their impact. How are you?
Coach Clarence, I'm pretty good. I feel like we're going to step into a mental workout here.
No, we're just going to find out how awesome you are, because from what I see and what I've looked at, I've got a lot of my own questions, but kind of briefly tell everybody how you got to where you are now. Give us a short synopsis.
Yes. So I'm originally from Germany, and I started out as a photographer, came to the United States in my early 20s, and then became a photographer representative and a producer for still photography. Did that, overcame 10 years of just very difficult hardship with fires, floods, riots, earthquakes, September 11th, and a tsunami, plus a lawsuit and a death. Ended up $135,000 in debt as a single parent, immigrant. And I had to figure out how to crack the code. And then when I did, I sold my business to millions of dollars to Bill Gates.
I definitely want to ask you about that. How did that even come about?
Well, that is really the story, that after I had lost my photography representation and my production business, I went and built a stock photography syndication. And stock photography syndication is where you go and you buy your images, or you get a subscription so you can use these images. And we were specialized in interior architecture. And we also had celebrity homes, at home stories. And we had the homes of Madonna and Seal, Francis Ford Coppola, Julianne Moore, like a lot of big A-listers. And that was what made us the number one agency that was doing that in the world. And because that's what attracted a Bill Gates company, and that's how they found us.
Oh, awesome. So what is the Women's Code? Explain to the viewers, what is the Women's Code?
Yeah, so the Women's Code is something that I came up with when I sold my business to this Bill Gates company, and afterward I was hired to run their celebrity division worldwide. And as I did that, I realized that there was a different way on how men did business and how women did business. And so there was definitely a men's code that men would go by, but they couldn't really explain what it was. They just knew what it wasn't. Like, you don't stab a brother in the back. You kind of got to, band together, a band of brothers. You got to make sure women don't come between male friendships. So there's like a code that men are going by that somehow is not written down, but being handed down. And then I looked at women, and crickets. Women don't have a code. Okay. It's like backstabbing, bullying, cutting each other out, stepping over dead bodies. I mean, women were pretty bad from what I could see in this. And so I set out to found the Women's Code to really help women understand what it's like to have a code, and that other women are not your enemy, but collaborators. And how do we get along with each other so we can address the larger issues in life?
I love it. So you coach businesses, obviously. So how does one become an authority in their industry?
Yes. So the authority is a term that is different from influencer and celebrity. So I want to be very clear about that. If you want to be an influencer or a celebrity, there's a different path. So Gary Vee is an influencer on his path to a celebrity, where he now is doing product endorsements. That's one strategy. An influencer is somebody who has an opinion about something and who people want to persuade to have an opinion about their product so they can help them influence people's opinion because this person generally is just cool or different or amazing. And like the guy with the cranberry juice that was on his skateboard after his truck broke down, and then that became a TikTok sensation because, he's like all cool drinking his cranberry juice, and then he, whatever, the ocean spray bought him the truck, and he became an influencer for a particular product. An authority is an industry expert with a knowledge about something very specific in typically a business. Mm-hmm. And an expert in an industry, that strategy to become an authority needs to be with a concise message to be in front of your audience, your target audience, consistently, that you can elevate your status as being the authority, the expert in that particular subject. So you become top of mind awareness. So when somebody thinks about a business strategist or building systems and workflows, I want them to think about me.
Awesome. So should a person niche down to be an authority, or can someone be good at a whole lot of things and still be considered a master in that industry?
The thing about niching, I have a word I call denichicizing. And I find that a lot of times people say, well, so you do strategies and you do systems and you help people to build their authority. Well, what exactly do you do? I mean, are you strategies, or are you system builder, or are you like project manager? Like, what are you? And they act all confused. So what we end up doing is we go and we say, well, what's the umbrella that all of the things that you do fit naturally under? It's the growth architect. Mm-hmm. As the growth architect, I have a blueprint. Under this blueprint, I have a transformation journey that gets you, one time around the sun, basically. And it has 5 different elements to it. And these 5 different elements have different programs or different entry points or viewpoints. Why? Because it's all part of the overall transformation, but it's all under one umbrella. The niche is not the system. The niche is growth architecture. So we need to first figure out what you need to grow your business or scale. Then we figure out which of the pieces that we do fits that. And then you go. So that's how people need to think about this from a niche perspective. If you are like most other people and you have, once you have more than 5 years business experience, chances are you have a number of things that you can offer. Then you need to think about what is the umbrella I can put over my knowledge, and then sell the umbrella as my niche and not the individual pieces.
I love that. So what are some things people can do to kind of build themselves into an authority?
So number one, you got to be very clear what the unique value proposition is, the message that you go out with. So we have, again, to stay with this example, if I were to say I'm a business consultant, then people would immediately go and think, I'm not in the market for business consultant. Don't need it. Done. If I say I'm a growth architect, typically there's another question. Oh, that's so interesting. What does a growth architect do? Yeah. So now we're in business, but I'm still a business consultant, but I have a better umbrella. So you have to figure out what your unique value proposition is that you go out with exactly. So that people go see that, and then they want to ask another follow-up question on that. So you build authority by figuring out what is it that you do? Why do you do it? Why are you the right person to do it? Why would people listen to you? That unique hook. And then you need to look at the other side, say, what is the problem that they're having in their terms, in their words? How do they talk about it? And then you cater exactly to that one piece. So if they're looking for, so let's hypothetically say you would be a fitness coach and you'd help people to get fit, then you want to talk to them about not like metabolism or things like that. They don't think about it like that. They go like, I have muffin tops. My butt's too big. So I don't look good in a bikini. So you need to talk about things that are meaningful to them.
Yes.
You don't want to go to the beach anymore because you don't feel good in a bikini. You don't like the way you look.
Yeah.
Now, you know that that is not the problem. That's the symptom of the problem that they've been ignoring.
Absolutely.
You know, it's the food, the lack of movement, Netflix streaming, COVID, excuses, whatever that is. But you cannot go and say, are you making excuses about your workout? Because if you do, you must hire me. You're not going to get a single client. But if you say, when was the last time you felt good in a bikini? Would you like to look good in a bikini in 6 weeks? Then you need to call. Now you got my attention.
Exactly. I love that. So with everything going on in this market and this economy, how can someone find their place in it and be profitable?
I think the way to go about this is to, again, look at what's happening in the market right now. And this is part of entrepreneurship or business ownership in general, because you always have to be acutely aware of what is going on around you. What is a market trend? So if I look at the market trend right now as a business owner, here's what I see. I see that during COVID, a lot of the high ticket items that people sold, the $10,000, $25,000 programs, a lot of people bought that. Why? Because they were sitting at home, they were making a lot of money, and their government paid them to do nothing. And so they had nothing but time. So there was a lot of learning culture during COVID. Now, post-COVID, we are in a busy culture. So people have no time, but they need leads. They need to build their authority. They need to stand out. So now I need to go in and say, what's my value proposition now? So now my value proposition has to be around, if you thought about going in business on your own, call me, because we are now adding programs, which I haven't done in years because I did, a lot of the high ticket stuff. Now we are adding things to help people on the entry level, because we see there's a huge movement on the entry level that we as a business can help. So we are literally going to the things that we had put in the closet. We take them out, we're upgrading, updating, we're doing version 2.0, and we're already starting selling it. So you have to make sure that what you offer is still relevant to the market.
Mm-hmm. All right. I love that. A coach told me that sometimes you have to, if you're building content, for example, or you want to do something, you almost have to see yourself, the problem, see yourself, how you resolved it, and then the solution to how you resolved it from the ideal client you want's perspective. Like you mentioned earlier about, instead of saying, oh, you have muffin top, well, they know that already. That's like you said, the symptom. But should you put yourself in that person's shoes, the ideal avatar you want?
Yeah, so we call this the airtight avatar, and we have a whole program that you can find at airtightavatar.com around this. And we call this an exercise in crawling into the minds of your clients. And the example that I give is something like this. So I want you to think about, there's a woman, she has 2 kids. She wakes up at 6 o'clock. School starts at 8. She finds out one of the kids has fever, thrown up. So she's dealing with that. She's already running late. She finally gets her mother-in-law to come over. Not easy. She doesn't really even like her that much, but she needs her right now. So that's done. Then she's running out of the door with the other kid, dropping her off to school late, 5 minutes. She goes to work. She has still a little bit of throw up on her blouse, which she didn't see. The minute she walks in, her boss calls her into the office and wants to talk to her about something that this guy talked to your coworker over the weekend on the golf course that you didn't even know that they did. And she has to justify something she didn't even know she supposedly did. And it's only 8:30. She goes to her office, spills the coffee, the phone rings, it's you. What's the difference of her picking up that phone and saying, Coach Clarence, You are just the guy I needed, because I can now vent on an internet marketer my entire frustration from this morning, or say, Coach Clarence, thank God you called. What do you have to say? That's what crawling into the minds of somebody does, because you're not dealing with somebody who just woke up in the mirror and felt bad about herself. You woke up with somebody who has a story and a life that then also goes, oh, and by the way, you're fat.
Jesus. I like that. Crawling the head. I don't know if I'm saying somebody's fat, unless I really know them. We've been working together for a while. We probably use that kind of terminology.
You have to live there. You have to live there.
Yes, absolutely. You've had some adversity, and I find some of the best authorities in business usually have a good story. How did you parlay the struggles you went through, being in debt several thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and how did you parlay it into where you are now? And how do you share that story to others? Because a lot of people, especially in my industry, are dealing with the exact same thing. Maybe not on the level you are, maybe going through a divorce, just lost their job, spouse maybe, and they don't see any light at the end of the tunnel, but they know they need to do something.
Yeah, that's actually a good way to put it. So there's a couple of things. So number one, an opportunity always shows up as a challenge, never in a Tiffany box with a bow.
I like that. Yes.
So if you think that God, spirit, universe, chance, or whatever you want to, or fate, whatever you want to call it, gives you an opportunity, and it actually says the word opportunity on there, and then all you have to do is open the Tiffany box. I wonder what's in there. It usually comes disguised as a challenge.
Yeah.
And you go, what did I ever do to deserve this?
Yeah.
But what it does, it is preparing you for that level that you need to operate on, because you simply at this point not that person that you need to be to manage what you're wanting to manifest. So if I want to manifest how to run a global company, which I did, but I didn't run a global company before. I was put through the ringer for 10 years dealing with so much adversity that then when it came to running a global company, I'm like, kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
How hard can it be?
Right. Right.
Because I've been through fires, floods, riots, earthquake, lost my business September 11th, wasn't a one-year lawsuit, and then lost a photographer in a tsunami. I know one thing or two about loss, failure, and not taking things personal, dealing with people, overcoming difficult circumstances, making sure that, I can keep my cool at all times. So that's what I would say. I would say that the adversity that you're dealing with is really your training. When I'm working out, it's ugly. I sweat. My deodorant is not working. My my legs are shivering. I'm not as strong as I used to be. Maybe I'm the oldest one in the gym. That idiot keeps dropping his weights behind me.
Those are reasons I get why people don't even want to show up. So you're right on track with those.
Exactly. And so you're going to have to say, if you're expecting a Tiffany box, you're going to have to go to a plastic surgeon. And you're going to have to pay for that. And then he'll give you, then you come out literally wrapped in a Tiffany box with a bow on your head. That is possible.
Yes, true. But you're still, if you haven't changed the inside, the outside packaging would be great. You're going to just fall apart because those habits you have dealt with inside are going to just manifest down the road. You'll just look better with worse habits.
Yeah. Exactly. Your habits haven't changed. So that's what adversity really is. Adversity is helping you to understand that you need to make a change. And that's what it's preparing you for, because what got you from A to B isn't going to get you from B to Z. So just imagine you couldn't take a kindergartner and put him in college. A kindergartner has to go through kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school to go to college. They may be, if they're really good, skip a grade here or there, but and ever so often somebody can skip the whole thing altogether, and a 12-year-old gets into college. But that's like one in, I don't know how many tens of millions. But for most everybody, there's a path. So you have to recognize that their shortcut has no success. Success has quantum leaps, but only if the conditions exist.
So you are an architect, and what I know of an architect is you build from the ground. You see visions, and you're able to translate that into real things. What I liked about you, because in this podcast business, people want to just come on and everybody thinks you have something they want to hear, and you actually decided to have a conversation with me first, which I thought was really cool. Means that you're purposeful in your actions and you're not just. So are there people that you have maybe a strategy call with in the beginning, and then you go, I don't think I'm for you, or do you try to take on everybody? I know we talked about de-niching, but are you one of those strong-willed people that can say, I can get through this? Are you up for the challenge, or do you say, that's just not my challenge?
It's interesting because I literally had two sales conversation, which we call uncovery session strategy calls over the last 24 hours. And when I did that, both people thanked me. And then I thought to myself, well, if I can have a sales conversation with somebody and they thank me, I must be doing something right. And here's what I do is I decide ahead of time what I can help people with. I can help you with the strategy. I can help you with the systems. I can help you with flushing out what the idea is. I can help you with this part of the journey, which is clearly outlined in the growth architecture. I do not help you to get more speaking engagements. I do not help you with managing your team. I do not help you with your finances. I can make a recommendation. So in our initial conversation with our potential clients, our prospects, our job is to find out what the actual issue is, because this call has to be valuable. Otherwise, you feel yucky afterward. And I rather have an army of people that say, I had a great call with Beata. She couldn't help me, but you know what? She might be somebody who can help you with the problem that you have. So I'd rather have 500 people out there talking good about me versus, man, that was a sleazy, gross sales call that was just dripping with closing techniques. And I felt, God, if I never hear of this person again, I'm going to be very happy. So you make a choice. You say, if this is the mom of two whose kids just threw up in the morning, and then she got completely slambasted, she comes across my record, and then she says, you know what, I've always thought about starting my own business. Or she has a side hustle and she goes like, it's time for me to really take this full time. Who do I call? I want to be her trusted advisor. I want to listen to what her issues are. I want to hear, so how are you going to handle these two kids? Who's going to take care of these two kids? Are we going to be traveling with this business? Are you going to need to stay put? How old are your kids? So I want to know all these things so I understand her circumstance. And only when I know that, then I can make a suggestion. I say, well, based upon what you said, here is what I think is happening. Is this resonating? If this is resonating, you have two options. Option number one, option number two. Which of those resonates? Well, this resonates. Well, good. How do you work? Do you need a short intensive burst? Do you need a longer period of time? I need a longer period of time. Great. Based upon what you just told me, this is what I can offer you. And if none of these criteria are met, then I say, you know what? It sounds to me like you really got to get your finances together first. Do you have somebody that you work with? Would you like me to make a recommendation? Because once you have that, then you can always come back and we can address it, but I don't think you're ready yet. If somebody is still binge eating and is, or let's say, in your space, I think that somebody who's bulimic probably would be a challenge, because the getting in shape is the excuse to burn more calories to feed that unhealthy spiral of calorie burn, right? So that would be difficult for me if I were a fitness coach, because then I would say, have you addressed this?
Right.
Well, that's different. It's not.
One, and that's funny you say that because years ago when I started, I thought I could work with anybody. And it took years of headaches, pain, and coaches to say, you got to find what you're good at and who you're for. I tell people all the time, anybody can show you how to do a bench press, but who is going to talk to you about why you're doing the things that are causing the other stuff? It's not knowing how to bench press, not knowing how to do a squat. It's the real estate between your ears that you got to work on. So that was the shift in my business. Like I started doing lessons from my own life, and I started going, I'm going to just do mindset as that's my little part in this piece, and my audience changed, because you think sometimes, well, if I only do this, I'm not going to have that many people, but you'll be surprised when you pick some, there's a whole audience that's ready to hear it. You just got to seek them out, find it. So I noticed on your information, what is the growth blocker quiz?
Yeah, so we sat down, my team and I, and we saw so many people that are stuck. And they're like in this constant up and down sine wave, also known as the entrepreneurial roller coaster. And they can't get out of their own way because they don't know what the issue is. So we created a quiz and we said, what is your number one business growth blocker? And if you know what your business growth blocker is, would it be helpful for you to know what you can do about it? Yes. That would be very helpful. Well, good. So that's what we created the quiz. So you can go to growthblockerquiz.com and it's a 2-minute quiz and figure out what do you need to do to actually, figure out what that thing is, the number one thing, and then what can you do about that? Takes literally a couple minutes.
I assume you get this information. Is it a way for you to reach out to people, or is there an option once they finish that? Well, if you'd like more information, go here. Is that kind of how that's set up?
Yeah. So what we've done is, I think this is probably very similar, Coach Clarence, to what you do. Is that people often don't know, and they just need to talk to you to figure it out. So we created an uncovery session. And we have trained a business growth advisor. So you can go to uncoverysession.com and schedule a 15-minute call with our business growth advisor. And he will then take you through some of the questions that we have prepared to really help you figure out what's the thing that you need to get unstuck in to take that next step. And then if there's something we can help you with, we'll tell you. If there's something we cannot help you with, we'll tell you. And if somebody else can help you with it, we'll tell you.
You have a lot of catchy little things that I pick up on when I talk to you. You have an uncovery process where a lot of coaches will say, we're going to jump on a discovery call. Why the difference and what does that mean? Or am I giving away too much of your magic?
No, you're so good. I can see what you're doing. You're trying to give people a couple behind the scenes looks here. So good for you. That's a good host. It's like, okay, I caught you on this one. Yes, you did. We look at this and we say, well, what makes something really memorable? So if everybody calls it a strategy or a discovery call, I cannot call it a discovery or a strategy call because then it sounds like everybody else. So I call it an uncovery call, which is between uncover and discover. And that way it has a unique term. Of course, I have the URL with it so that other people cannot steal my thunder. My avatar is not your ideal avatar, but an airtight avatar. Because again, it's a catchphrase, and then we have the URL, and then we run it through that. So that's one part about business, which I'll just, because you obviously have caught on to that, is one of the ways where you can create engagement momentum in your business is by having these things, the verbiage that's unique to your business, because it makes it sound more proprietary. So on whether I'm a growth architect or business consultant, I have an ideal client avatar or an airtight avatar. I do a complementary strategy session or an uncovery session. It just sounds a little bit more elevated. That's what I look for.
Love it. I love it. Love it. So you wrote a book called Happy Woman, Happy World. Tell us a little bit about that book.
Yeah, so Happy Woman, Happy World was written when I founded the Women's Code, and I realized that there's so much bad information about women, or or a complete lack of information how women can actually get along better, or a lot of the information is meaningless because it is built on such a level that it doesn't apply to everybody. I felt that somebody needed to tell women really the truth is you drive yourself crazy. We're perpetually overwhelmed. We're always chasing an ideal image of ourselves. I call this the superhuman paradox. We look at other women, and my friend Kelly's, but she's been married for 33 years. Of course, I admire that. Then I have a friend who has, Monica, she's got the smoking hot body. So I want that. And then I have another friend who, who's just got the most beautiful home. And I mean, it's like out of an architectural digest. I want to have that. So I take the best of all of my friends. And then I think I need to be the incorporation of all their best elements in one person. That's my ideal goal.
Fascinating. I love all the stuff that you said. You said it more eloquently than I have tried to say it over my years of trying to explain it. I do think people overthink and overcomplicate situations.
Yes.
What is ego rhythm?
Ego rhythm is a concept that I developed. So you can tell that I'm like all about strategies, concepts. Like I'm always thinking about how can I explain it to people so that they understand what I'm talking about. And then I develop a concept. But the concept of ego rhythm says that we all have different rhythms in life. And when you think back about having kids, so when you have that baby, you give up your life for 3 years. I mean, it's all about the baby. You have no identity. You're so-and-so's dad or so-and-so's mom. It's all about how am I going to crazy making, how I'm going to make all of this happen. And then the kid gets to be 3 to 6. Oh my God, they're so cute. They're 6 to 9, the best. Daddy, you're the best. I'm going to marry you one day. Mom, you're so beautiful. You're the most beautiful woman in the world. 6 to 9, the storm clouds are moving in. 12 to 15, God help us. 15 to 18, when will you leave? And so everything goes in rhythms. But if you would know with an infant that will not move off your tummy as a newborn, or a new mom, would you be happier about that if you knew that at 15, they're staying in the middle of the room and they're yelling you, I bleep hate you? Of course you would, but nobody tells you that. So I looked at that and said, there's so many rhythms in life. And I've identified 9. So mom, tragedy, spirituality, career, disaster, tragedy. So I've identified 9 of these. And in my book, I have a whole outline on how you can figure out what rhythm you are in right now, and then figure out how you can initiate a rhythm you want to be in. Because if you are in tragedy, you don't want to stay there. You want to go into another rhythm that is more pleasant, maybe love or family or something like that, or career. And then how do you set a main focus in that area that is the main focus of your life right now?
Wow, it's very powerful stuff there. Tell me real quick, because I mentioned this earlier, a lot of people are struggling with failing right now or feeling lost. What's something someone can take away right today that doesn't give away everything in your system they can do right now to turn that failure or move failing into success?
I think I would start with how you look at failure. And I'm going to give you a story on that. So when I look at failure, I describe it as when we go to our car and the GPS says, update me. And you go, I don't have time. I have to go somewhere. And you keep postponing updating the GPS. Inevitably, the day comes. The road's closed. They're building that freeway. So you're going to get out of the car. You're going to throw yourself on the ground. You're going to throw a temper tantrum, and you're going to go, I'm the worst driver in the world. I'll never drive again. I'm going to sell my car tomorrow. This is just no use. I'll never be a good driver. I never get this figured out. Does nobody. What you do is you take your hand, you smack yourself against the head. You said, well, probably should have updated that GPS when it told me to. You look at the person and you wave at them with a stop sign. And then you drive off and find another way, because you do know that the destination you were going to, the concert hall, your friend's house, is probably still there. So people, when they make a mistake or failure, for some reason, they think the temper tantrum in the middle of the cul-de-sac is the solution and yelling at the person with the stop sign. So what I want you to do instead is when this obstacle occurs, to start waving at the person with a stop sign and saying, thank you. Do not go here. Got it. Appreciate it. Shortcut. Noted. I'm going to find another way.
I love it. I love it. All right, this is fascinating. So tell everybody how to find you if they want to dig in more into what you're doing. Do they start with the quiz or the avatar? What's the best way to get right to you if they find this interesting?
All of the above. All of the above. I probably would start with a quiz and just get an idea of where you are at. If there's something in there where you go, I got to talk to her directly, just schedule your uncovery session. Just make sure you mention this show. And while we're at it, please, wherever you pick up the show, will you go there right now and give Coach Clarence a 5-star review plus a little note? Because the notes is the engagement that the algorithms are pushing the show up, and we want to help more people. It's a labor of love. And then share this episode with one other person who needs to hear what we talked about today. So aside from that, go do the uncovery session at uncoverysession.com, the quiz, growthblockerquiz.com. You can check out the Airtight Avatar if you go, I do want to crawl into the minds of my clients. And I think that's a really good start. And you should definitely get the book, especially if you're a woman listening, or if you're a man who wants to help women to be more happy in their life, because the book is called Happy Woman, Happy World, How to Get from Overwhelmed to Awesome.
That is a dangerous undertaking, man. Make sure you read the book first.
It is a lifelong quest.
Awesome. Oh, and real quick, you do a podcast. Talk about your podcast really fast.
So the Business Growth Architect Show, I always forget because I'm so happy to be on your podcast. The Business Growth Architect Show is a show that talks a lot about systems and strategies of growing and building businesses. And we really focus on a lot of mindset and a lot of what can you actually do, like the action you need to do to get yourself a flourishing business.
Awesome. It's awesome. Well, I appreciate this finally happening. It's been in the works for a while. And I got to tell you, this was a lot better than I anticipated. You're very thorough, and you have nailed your message down to a T. So that's always good. I'm
here to help the audience. I want people to have this be a good half hour of their time and to walk away and say, you can say whatever you want, but I got like one thing, that she said that I took away. That's what I'm aiming for. And we sincerely hope that your listeners are taking something away here today.
Awesomeness.